This morning in Texas, a district court judge granted an emergency motion allowing a woman to get an abortion. After 20 weeks of pregnancy, 31-year-old Kate Cox learned her fetus has a fatal abnormality. Her life and fertility were at risk. But Texas has a series of abortion bans that are so strict, with medical exemptions so narrow, that people like Kate Cox need to get a judge to approve life-saving abortions. So last week, Cox and her husband sued the state of Texas so that she could have the procedure. In the court hearing today, the Texas Attorney General's office argued that Ms. Cox does not qualify for a medical exemption under the state's abortion laws, but the judge disagreed, saying the idea that Ms. Cox desperately wants to be a parent and this law might actually cause her to lose that ability is shocking and would be a genuine miscarriage of justice. Experts expect Texas to appeal today's decision, and what that means for Cox's abortion is unclear. In the meantime, Attorney General Paxton sent a letter to 3 Texas hospitals warning that the judge's motion will not insulate you or anyone else from civil and criminal liability for violating Texas's abortion laws. It does not enjoin actions brought by private citizens. Joining me now is Erin Carmone, senior correspondent at New York Magazine. Erin, you're so indispensable in reporting on all of this. I wonder first what you make of the words from Ken Paxton, the AG, who seems to be threatening the bounty hunter law to prosecute anyone who might assist Ms. Cox with her abortion.
There are so many restrictions on abortion in Texas. There are 5 different ones. Each one of them has different language about medical exemptions. It is hard to even understand which way he plans to prosecute. He also, I think that in the letter that he sent to the hospitals, he threatened felony prosecution.
Yes.
So there's all kinds of interwoven laws that are restricting both pregnant people and their providers. Now, I feel like we should step back. The reason that we have never seen a case like this, you and I were talking about this, it is extraordinary for someone who has an ongoing pregnancy, who needs an abortion, to actually go through this process, an adult begging a court to let her have a life-saving abortion, one that will, again, if she does not have it, harm her fertility and her health.
Yes.
The reason that that doesn't happen is that once that person is in front of a lawyer, usually that means that they can go out of state and they don't have to put themselves through the ordeal.
Exactly.
So the Center for Reproductive Rights has a lawsuit with 22 women, some of whom had to give birth to a dying fetus. One of them her arm became black with clotted blood because she was not able to get the care that she needed. But some of them were able to go to other states to get abortions. And I imagine that the same option is available to Kate Cox, but she's choosing to fight this fight in order to bring about justice,
yes,
one hopes. And also, look at what's happening. Look at the lengths to which Paxton is going.
Yes.
The court understands that this should qualify under any reasonable health exception. But even having gone through all of this process, the Texas Attorney General wants to prosecute doctors for providing care that is going to provide the best outcome to their patient that their patient has chosen. The fact that they want to go after doctors,
and is presumably going to appeal this.
But they want to disobey a judge in order to force this woman to harm her health, to give birth to a fetus or a baby that will live maybe painful hours.
You know, the bravery and the tenacity of Kate Cox in this moment to take her case to the courts, to show America, to show Texas lawmakers what it means to impose these restrictions on pregnant people. She spoke to Nightly News this evening, and I just want to play a little bit of sound from Kate Cox reacting to this decision.
I would ask to, look at my situation and, maybe think about, your wife or your sister, your daughter, and, see the hurt.
The ways in which the stories of these women have completely upended the political narrative that the conservative right wing has tried to establish. These are sisters, mothers, daughters, women like everyone else who are facing just unfathomable, unforeseen circumstances and need care. I mean, I just wonder what you think this does to the sort of political dynamic and the right's desire to outlaw abortion nationally.
I think even the pro-choice side has been caught off guard just how many people have been ensnared in this. I mean, people who are going through challenging or difficult health circumstances in their pregnancies, they have enough to deal with. They don't need to be going to a lawyer. They don't need to be fighting a hospital board. But the fact that people have decided to speak up about this, talk to reporters, go to court, shows that they realize that this implicates their justice, their health, their liberty, and it's not rare. That's the other thing. I will say this too. The bigger context here is that the anti-abortion movement thinks of exceptions as loopholes for funsies, that people, if the exceptions are too capacious,
yes,
that women will just line up and have abortion, like get out of pregnancy jail for free cards.
Yes.
And so they are intentionally making these exceptions as narrow as possible to try to make it so that you have to be at death's door. They do not accept a lethal fetal diagnosis as a reason for an exception. And they are willing to persecute this woman all the way to the hospital door to try to enforce that.
And it's another fact, the battle isn't over. I just remember during the peak of the anti-Obamacare backlash, and it was get the government out of my health care. And now you have literally the Texas Attorney General telling a woman and her doctor that she can't have an abortion because he's decided the fetus in her uterus should be brought to term. It is unbelievable, the level of violation that is being visited upon these women. Irene Carmon, it is great to see you. Thank you for speaking so passionately and brilliantly about a topic that is absolutely wrenching.